Today we need to get into some of the legal action stuff that's been going on with the label and how it's kind of been a bit more crazy, and there's some new updates. We also have BTS Disband trending on Twitter and what that is about. And then of course we have the stock drop and what that is about. So dumplings, it's safe to decide, hate it or not, make sure you're subscribed with the notification bell on. Make sure you join us fangirling on Patreon, and let's go. The first thing we need to talk about is this alleged stock drop and what is going on now. There's a lot of drama that is happening with the label right now. There is an ongoing lawsuit within the label. I believe it's a lawsuit. It might just be a disagreement, but I did hear that lawyers were involved. That could be a lawsuit. But a lot of the stuff that is going on, we will get into that a little bit later. But right now, I want to talk about a stock dropping. Now, amidst this sort of situation that's going on within the label, you would think that there would be a huge tank within the stock, as a lot of investors would probably sit there and be like, oh, this is not good. They're arguing. There's going to be a lot of disagreements. What is going to be the future of each of the artists? And especially since there's a lot of accusations of plagiarism and copying, there is a lot of potential concern over what could happen with all these artists and whether they're still going to be seen in a good light. Because stock, unlike with the actual products, stock is very much public perception. And when public people perceive a company as bad and they start to pull away from the label or from the company, then that actually causes the stock to drop. However, that doesn't seem to be such a big issue or a big concern right now, as the stock seems to be fluctuating in the normal capacity in which it normally does. However, there was a theory or concern that I thought was really interesting. There is a lot of controversy surrounding Hee Jin. She is an artistic director for several different artists, and recently she joined in with New Jeans. That's sort of been her project for the last how many years. When she joined the label or decided to work alongside with the label, there was a lot, and I mean a lot of controversy with her being there. People were not happy about it at all, and a lot of people were very angry due to several of her controversies in the past. Now, some of the controversy that exists in the past include things like picking very risque concepts for artists, or just a lot of stuff that I don't really want to say here because I don't know how accurate they are and how true they are. Because sometimes, and oftentimes in K-pop, fans will take something and then completely misconstrue and run with it and make it go a completely different direction than what it actually is. So I don't really want to get into those things. However, just keep in mind a lot of those controversies were really bad, like criminal bad. Now, apparently when she joined, they were saying that the stock dropped 10% or so. And these were coming from viral tweets, basically saying that is the reason why she shouldn't be in the label. However, I think this is interesting because people will still say that the stock drops and correlate something that happened that day with how the stock drops. Stock drops can happen for various reasons, and stock drops can happen for reasons that people don't really fully even understand. A lot of those reasons could be things like just whatever is going on within the market that day, or just things that you don't really know. Simply making a blanket statement to say that the stock dropped 10% that day without really giving context that maybe the stock tends to go up and down 10 to 20% every single day, and that is just normal. Because this isn't, I don't think, one of the top companies in the world where they just always have a very stable sort of stock like Amazon or whatever. This is music, this is entertainment. The stock is going to go up and down a lot. I presume entertainment stocks would be more of a high risk stock. This also doesn't take into account how much stocks fluctuate on the day-to-day to begin with. Maybe a lot of people were just selling off their stocks that day due to something else that happened in Korea, i.e. a natural disaster or something like that. So you can never really be sure why a stock drops. It's very interesting to correlate one thing to another without any evidence of that being true, because when something really bad happens, it's a really big scandal. The stock shouldn't just drop 10%. It would drop quite a lot. And even if it did drop a lot more, or it remained around 10%, the fact that the label decided to keep her, knowing that she would have allegedly been the cause of that stock drop, would prove that it had no correlation. Because you really think that a label would keep her if the stock had dropped to like zero? I don't know if what I'm saying makes any sense, but I hope it does. And even with that said, the fact that every single day there's crazy rumors being made up about K-pop idols and people who work in K-pop, I think most investors and most adults who are aware of the entertainment industry that they're investing in, or aware that these claims make no sense, a lot of the sort of, especially Asian people that I talk to, the older ones, and I mention things about what happens in entertainment and what people say, every single one of them seems to be aware that people make things up. So if I say something like, oh, this so-and-so person was accused of touching kids, and of course there's no evidence of that, the person who is older doesn't just automatically believe that rumor, whereas the younger generation might just take that and be like, oh, okay, wow, I hate this person, right? without actually knowing if it's true or not. And I say this to also say, of course, the people who are investing are a little bit older. And of course, the people who are investing are not just investing to invest. They know and have researched the thing that they're investing in. And so they're not just going to willy-nilly sell their stock without there being 100% proof of anything bad. With that said, there's recently been a lot of rumors with BTS too, and people trending BTS disband on Twitter. So this was a very interesting topic and very interesting why they were trending it. When I saw it, I assumed that BTS got into some sort of scandal or there was accused of plagiarism or that sort of thing. And then people were saying that the group should disband. However, none of that is true, and the BTS member disband trend was coming from the idea that V should leave BTS to pursue his own thing. This was interesting because it came from recently ILIT beating V's Spotify record. So the group essentially beat the streaming record that V had for his song Friends. And people were saying that if we were to go solo and not come back with the BTS group, that V would be able to launch more music and then reclaim his crown, which is so interesting to request that the whole group just disband just because you want V to break a Spotify record. So that is very interesting, and I thought that that was something that shows the level of craziness that exists in the community. Sometimes because V has been very open about loving all 7 members. And for you to just come in and say that he should leave it to break his own record, I'm sure he would not love that. And knowing that he vocalizes loving all 7 members, to go ahead and say that is almost admitting that you don't like V. Now, if you're unaware of the plagiarism claims, I think they're very interesting. And by interesting, I mean a bit crazy. So the creative director for New Jeans, Hee Jin, not only accused various artists within the label of stealing from her and her ideas, she also now accused BTS of stealing ideas and plagiarism. And this is incredibly interesting, and I'm wondering why she decided to go down that path, especially down a K-pop path, knowing that the supporters are very strong and that a lot of people are going to not be on her side, especially when she's accusing their favorite artist of doing things. But to say that like BTS copied her when BTS was successful well before New Jeans was even a thing is interesting. And some of those accusations were going into how BTS was copying her once she joined the label. So obviously not the old stuff, but more the newer stuff. However, BTS had been very successful even before then, so they wouldn't need to copy her. And I'll give a person a benefit of the doubt. If they're coming up with things and they're saying things like that are very bold, I would assume that they have some proof to back it up. Otherwise, they're just saying things. And especially with the case that is very public, I don't think it would be great to just randomly say things. I think she would also be aware that if she were to just do that, the lawsuit would not be in her favor because what she's saying is not accurate, and then she would be blackballed in the K-pop industry. Or I don't know if that's even possible in her position. However, I would love to see where her claims are coming from and why she feels that way about BTS. This made a lot of people really upset because they were upset that the BTS members were being accused of such things, and people who loved V, people who loved Jungkook, people who loved Jimin, and all those people kind of came together and were like, why are you attacking our favorite people? I'm very interested to see how this situation will end and what she will present in court. I also understand the fact that she can make these claims because these are the claims that are essentially going to have to put both parties in court or have to put both parties in some sort of dispute resolution thing. She obviously can't show her hand and what her accusations are because it would give time for the lawyers to come up with a rebuttal on those things, and it would put her at a disadvantage. However, the case, if it does go to court, would be a very public thing, and then it would be able to be seen by everyone. So eventually we'll be able to see what she presents and where her theories and her accusations are coming from. I said so before, and I'll say it again. The claims that artists in pop especially steal from each other is very wild to me because that has always been what pop is. It's taking what has been successful and then recreating it. And I want to say that because I want that to be known, at least publicly, so that if the court or the judge were to do research on this sort of thing, they can kind of hear that perspective. Now, not all the members have formally reacted to this, but I'm sure they have been on the phone and talked to each other or have talked to each other at the camp about how they feel about the situation. As a lot of people believe that RM actually posted a reaction to it, as typically in the past, every time RM has posted on Instagram a story with a laughing emoji, it is over the drama that is going on. Whether that was with the Co-Rail situation, whether that was with the Monk situation leaking his information, he has always posted the laughing emoji. So recently he posted the emoji on his story with him walking on the beach, and many people believe that all the members, V, Suga, J-Hope, all of them, are very much aware of this. Let me know what you think. Make sure you check out Patreon for more videos. Link down below. Thanks. Just leave a comment right here. Love you. Bye.